Welcome to the NAMB Podcast, where we bring you the voices that drive the mortgage industry. Join dynamic hosts Ginger Bell and Matt Shields as they dive into bold conversations with top experts, industry leaders, and change makers from across the country. From insider insights to game-changing trends, this is your front row seat to what's happening right now in the world of home finance.
Well, hey there. Welcome to another episode of the NAMB Podcast. My name's Ginger Bell, and I have my co-host with me, Matt Shields. How are you today, Matt?
Doing fantastic. So excited to be here with you today.
Absolutely. So, normally, Matt, we have a guest on and we talk to them about, what they're doing and seeing in their business and things like that. But this one, you and I had a conversation just talking about what you're doing with the young professionals, some of the things you're doing with your local state association in Ohio. And what I really want to dive in today is what you're doing in your own business to grow your business, because those are the things that I think are so important that people have an opportunity to listen, to learn, to grow. So let's start off with the young professionals.
Cool.
And let me know kind of what you're doing there and changing it up right there.
Yeah. So we have a full agenda this year. It's going to be a busy year. But I love the change that we're doing starting in April. This month, we're now switching our platform to be more of a recording that we can share out to our members, our young professional members. We get how being an originator is, how busy it is. Your time might not be yours. It can be a little reactionary. So, and I get why people can miss the calls. So just really excited that we're going to be able to share it out a little bit differently just to get some more engagement and just to keep bringing value like we are to our young professionals and our NAMB members. And for the listeners, we're going to have every different topic, how to build your business, some tips and tricks there, what we're doing on the government affairs side of things, how we're doing our advocacy, what we're lobbying for on the Hill, but then also perks of being a member, the tech package that we have and all just the benefits and tools that NAMB gives us.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize all that NAMB offers to its members and to the community. And so changing that up. So having the format for the young professionals, you're still meeting every month, but it's going to be a meeting they can hop on. You're going to have different guests and it's actually a live meeting. So it's one of those things that people can interact. It's not like it's watching a webinar. And so if you are a young professional, if you are under the age of 40, then make sure and hop on. Those are held once a month and you can register for it. We'll make sure and drop the link below. What day is it held on, Matt?
It's the third Wednesday of every month. And we did change the time. It was at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We pushed that back to 3 p.m. Eastern time. But thank you for saying that because it is a very interactive call. We love having somebody on there with us and it's an open forum. Even though we have a speaker come on and talk, it's very much an open forum so they can ask questions. And then if they can't attend, of course, now they got the recording to see what they missed and they can come back and join us for the next one.
Yeah, I love it. So that's happening with young professionals. But the other thing that I think is so important as far as being involved in our industry and what's happening is what's taking place in April, and that is the Advocacy Day and the Lobby Day. So members of NAMB are going to be on the Hill, Capitol Hill, and you're going to be lobbying. So talk to me about it. I started out lobbying at a state level, which I'm in Oregon, and so that's how I really started lobbying. But the first time I ever went to a NAMB lobby event, I was very intimidated. I was honestly terrified of going onto the Hill and talking to representatives about what's happening. But what was really cool is NAMB prepares you for that. So they give you talking points and here's what to talk to about with your local state representatives. And so for me, it was great because you have an opportunity to be involved and at a level that you're having that support. So it's like that safety net. And so I know for you, that's kind of how you started out being involved in the lobbying as well, right?
Yeah. So this will be my second time going.
Right.
First one was 2 years ago. And then last year I had a baby. So last year I was not going to last year. I missed out on it. But my first year going out to DC, that was my first ever NAM event. So I had
Wow.
no idea what to expect. I only knew a couple people in the group, and it was such an eye opener for me to what NAM really does
Right.
by providing just so much value. Like one, of course, we're on the Hill, and that was one of the coolest experiences of my life was getting a tour of the Capitol building and
Yep.
meeting, staffers in the basement of the Capitol talking about housing. And that was, and being a big history guy, I love history and politics and all that. And just, it was such a rewarding experience for me personally, but then also professionally. But NAM doesn't, they don't leave you out to dry. They don't just
Right.
say, hey, go do this. So just the whole event from day one, how we get there, and then we have the speakers, politicians, HUD secretary was there, director of Fannie and Freddie. There's just so much information that I was in awe. First day I'm sitting there and the speaker lineup was phenomenal. Learned so much and just how interactive it was. So just an awesome experience there. And then to have our NAM like game plan, the cheat sheet. These are our talking points. This is what we're
Right.
trying to address. This is how you do the meetings. This is how you present yourself. This is what we need to do. Because, even though we're all meeting with our different legislators on the Hill, we need to be speaking in unison about the same
Yep.
thing appropriately. So I was very prepared, but I was the new guy. So we went with a handful for our group in Ohio,
Yep.
and I kind of took a step back. I wanted to see how they were doing stuff, and I was just chiming in where I needed, giving some of my personal experience. So I'm really excited for this year because now I've seen it. It's under my belt. This is my
Right.
third year in NAM. So I'm just a lot more confident in myself with NAM to really make a difference, So I can't wait to be out this year.
And the value that you bring is so important for those representatives on the Hill because you're boots on the ground.
Yep.
You know the challenges that are faced about affordability, about I mean we've got changes in condos that are going on right now.
Yep.
So what's happening with that, and what do legislators need to know about what's happening not just in DC, but also within your state, because that's a lot of it. You're meeting with your state representatives, even though obviously it's on the Hill, they
Yeah.
still represent your state.
Yeah.
So you're doing both. The other thing that is very valuable in doing this is then taking that and bringing that information back and sharing it with your real estate partners and let them know, hey, I was, just in Washington, D.C. We were just lobbying. And to let people know that you are going above and beyond, that you're not the average originator, that you are very involved with what's happening, not only within your state, but also on a federal level. And so that, takes you up to a higher level in terms of your credibility, right?
Yep. And it's exactly what happened. When I came back, I noticed my realtors looking at me differently. I noticed my clients looked at me differently. And, at the time we were going through the trigger leads bill.
Right.
So that's a conversation I had with every single buyer, what was going on. But now to be able to say, hey, I do a lot of work with the organization and the association who's helping put a stop to this.
Yep.
I could tell they realized then I cared. And I'm not just some random loan officer quoting them a rate. I'm somebody who cares enough about our industry to go to DC for a couple of days and leave my family and, spend my own money to go and lobby and take time away from work. And it's just really crazy how doing these things, like it doesn't directly get you business. It indirectly gets you business in so many ways. And I feel like me being involved with NAM has really changed me from being an originator to, of course, the advocacy, but I really feel like a high-end professional in my industry. And, I've closed a lot of business over the years. I've been a top 1% originator for 8 or 9 years now. But like, I feel like I just took it up a notch. I took it up a level to where I didn't have it before. And that was such a really nice takeaway for me, was just thinking of the big picture and how I'm such a small piece in it. But all these small pieces across the country together, it's a force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that, taking it up a notch.
Yep.
Because you have been in the industry for a while. You are a top producer But you want to do more than that. And so I know you and I had a conversation at NAMB National just talking about framing that out and taking those steps and what that looks like. And so you've done that. And so, tell me kind of what's happening in your business right now and how you're growing.
Yeah. So the goal for me this year is I want to elevate everything I'm doing. I want the client experience. I want the realtor experience. I want my processing team, my closers. I want to elevate everything I'm doing just to make the process better. That's of course doing better on my own business, but I manage a team. I have a new person starting with us on Monday. I'm super excited about. So we'll have 7 people on our team, and I also want to elevate their experience because I am their leader. My goal for them is to have the best work environment. I want them to make a phenomenal living, and I just want to support them every way I can. And over the years, I've had a team for almost 10 years now. I've learned how to be a better leader, a better mentor. But I'm really, for me this year, and it's funny because I was wanting to hire this person, but I've really learned to be very selective. And I'm looking
Right.
for a certain characteristic, a certain quality, looking for empathetic people with great relationships. And the team, we're all ages, we're all different. Like we're all so different, but we all work so well together. And it's very much that family vibe. So we've been very selective on who we bring in, but just our team camaraderie, celebrating each other's wins, helping each other out with whether it's working on a file or an income calculation. But I'm just really excited how we're just elevating everything to our business this year. And we have a lot of, of course, lofty goals, but I think there's no reason we can't hit them. If we just keep doing the stuff that we're doing and we have a great game plan and all the support from my companies helping us in so many ways. And I'm really excited and I'm loving my outlook for this year and going into even next year in 2027. We're thinking this year we're going to have a great plan, but what are we going to do next year too? We're trying to think that just,
Thinking ahead. Yep. Yeah. And it's important to do that. So in recruiting, and you talked about a couple things. First of all, not bringing everyone on.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. So, having an idea of, what type of person you're looking for, not just necessarily are they a top producer, but do they fit into the team? Do they have the right mindset? And if they're not a top producer, why? What are they doing? What are their growth? So slowing the roll down a little bit when you're having those recruiting calls. What's your success in that? And I think first with, how are you recruiting people? Where are you finding people?
Yeah.
And then second, when you have that first conversation, what's the most important thing that you're doing in having that first recruiting conversation with them?
Where I'm looking is I love a word of mouth referral. I love a
Right.
friend connection because I don't want to grow too fast. I don't want to grow too slow. Rome wasn't built in a day. I want to be very
Right.
methodical with our approach. So I love like a warm connection, like that buddy connection coming in. The ideal person for me is somebody who's a go-getter, somebody who's self-motivated, but also the empathetic side of things. If somebody's empathetic, they care so much about what they do. They don't want to let anybody down. Those are just some of the characteristics I'm looking at. But I've had, there's always turnover in the industry. People go on to different opportunities. Yep. And this and that. But I feel like at this point in my career, I'm also just a better leader to support people as well. And I'm very much experience.
Okay.
Just experience. And also the stage of my life. I'm a dad now. It changes things. Changes how I look at things. It's kind of slowed me down, softened me up a little bit to an extent. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just, it's made me more patient, and it's just made me look at life differently. It's hard to put it into words, but it's made me the best version of me.
Cool.
And just experience and just being around and being a part of NAMB. I have phenomenal mentors, my regional managers, my corporate managers, people in NAMB. I have some awesome mentors like yourself, the conversations that me and you have. So it's nice having amazing people in my sphere who I can really talk to about what I'm doing.
Right.
bend their ear, get some nice suggestions, and taking what I hear here, what I hear here, and kind of formulating it into my plan for what we want to do. Um, it's just crazy how things can change year by year and where you're at a year later, and
Yep.
that's my approach is like, how can we get a little bit better every day? If we're constantly doing just some micro improvement, next year looks amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So walk me through a day for you. I mean, it's like, what's an average day? Because I think that's a challenge that a lot of people have, and especially when you're looking at scaling,
Yeah.
is making sure you're not always the firefighter. So not living in your email and being reactionary. So walk me
Yeah.
through a day in the life of Matt Shields, and what does that look like?
Yeah.
He's going back and
Oh
remembering.
man, that's a good question. So, a day in the life, it's I live my job always. So my conversations could start at 7 a.m. They could end at 10 p.m. Every day is a little bit different with that aspect. But I wake up, see my family, put my baby in the car. My wife takes her to daycare. Then I get started. So I get
Yep.
showered, get to work. I'm focused, ready to do my day. But that's a big thing for me is seeing her, putting her in the car, getting her off to where she needs to go.
Yeah. Number
And
one
then
priority.
I'm first thing I'm doing, I talk to so many people a day, emails, calls, texts. I'm
Yeah.
going through, what do I have? Let me download the previous day, make sure I don't miss anybody. So I'm starting off getting my thoughts in order. But a big thing for me is making sure I'm time blocking specific calls.
Okay.
I need to talk to at least 10 referral partners a day.
Perfect.
I need to talk to at least 25 clients a day.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at and if I'm having at least 10 realtor connections or financial advisor connections, whoever I'm talking to, if I'm having at least 50 of those a week,
Mhm.
now if I'm having 100 client calls a week, whether that's past clients, pre-approvals, people in process, I've noticed when I keep track daily of my activities for who I'm talking to, that's the mental plan for me. Because now I can break that out over all the weeks of the year. So it's
Right.
very easy for me to keep track of the calls I'm having. But for me, it's outbound gets inbound. The more I'm on the phone, the more it's coming in. So I try to do as much prospecting as I can early. And then I take a little break from it. I'm working on my files. I'm getting with the processing team. I'm doing presentations for my buyers. I'm very hands on with me doing presentations and just being accessible. So it's prospecting, working on my business, back to prospecting. Um, and then I'm fielding calls at night. So I'm home by 5. Baby gets home from daycare. I take her out of the car, get her inside, and now I'm taking calls. So that's a big thing for me is being there when she leaves, being there when she gets home. Um, and then I'm on the phone,
Mhm.
and for me, it's all relationships. Everything is a relationship. How can I leave everyone happier than they were before I talk to them? How can I leave everyone in a better situation than I found them in? So if I can just focus on being that guy, being that
Yeah.
relationship guy, and I'm making a difference, then everything's going to fall into place.
And people pick up on that. That's one of the things they can read into that. And so, not only for your referral partners, not only for your clients, but for your team as well.
Yeah.
And so, they're going to see that, they're going to emulate that, and that is critical. I know you do several events as well, so you're very involved in some of the events. So, I think being part of the community is also important. What are some of the things that you're working on around there?
Yeah, so how I look at it is I'm doing two different aspects. One is NAMB, and I'm in Ohio, so the Ohio Association of Mortgage Professionals. We're the state chapter for NAMB. So I do a couple events a year where we just had one last week, and we had almost 90 people. It's
Yeah, I think you
fantastic.
said you were only expecting like 25 people. It's like it's going to be a very casual get together, and you were like blown out. You didn't even have room for everyone, right?
We got lucky. It was a beautiful day. The venue we were at had the garage doors open, so it was just that
Cool.
first nice day of the year. Everybody wanted to be there.
No snow on the ground in
No,
Ohio.
thank God for once. Uh, so I do a lot for OAMP and for NAM, but then for my own business, I do a couple events a year, and I have one coming up May 2nd for it's a mix of Cinco de Mayo and the Kentucky Derby. So we're
Oh,
calling it
cool.
Cinco Day Derby. It's a nice little fun thing for both. So we're gonna have mint juleps, we're gonna have margaritas, we're gonna have food,
Ooh.
we'll have the Derby on, but it's a fundraiser. I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer.
Yes.
So much of what I do is for PanCan. So I have a big event that we're going to have raffle prizes. We raffle off some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But the goal is from that event, raise 5 to 10 grand for charity. I'll do another one at the end of the year. That one's more of a big fundraiser for charity. The second one I do, that second half. But my goal is how can I raise 20 grand a year for PanCan?
Yeah.
So I'm inviting my sphere, my friends, my family, my past clients, my pre-approvals, my realtor partners. And it's a big love fest. Everyone's there to support each other and raise a bunch of money for a great cause. And it's just, that brings a lot of joy to me. And it's just great too. It's the sphere of people who I have there. It's such an awesome experience. And I encourage our listeners, like, find something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Find a cause you're passionate about. And then turn it into a business, family, friend party. It's like you build it, they'll come. So you set it up, you're going to have a lot of people there.
Yeah.
You know?
And what a wonderful tribute to your dad. I lost my mother also to pancreatic cancer. And so I think having that personal connection, that people see that, and they remember that. And it's not just, Matt Shields, the mortgage guy, but it's Matt Shields that makes a difference, that is involved in the community and giving back, and in a way that does give honor. So good on you to do that. I have to see if I can swing by. It's a bit of a trip, but maybe I'd love to have a mint julep. And
I would love to have you out here. If you guys can swing it, would love to have you. Would love to have you out. And if you can't make this one, I'll be doing another one in October. I always do it like right before NAMB National, how it lines up. Yeah, it's usually like that first week of October. Cool. But it's just something that I started, and it just grows and grows every year. And I love when people throughout the year call me, hey, when's your event? I can't miss it. I got to be there. And it makes me just feel very special and very privileged to be surrounded by so many people that care. Yeah.
Well, Matt, you are a very special person. And I know that NAMB is very lucky to have you, to have your leadership. And that's the key. It's like we need young professionals like you who are stepping up, that have the passion of the industry, that have the passion of, getting involved and making a difference. And you definitely do that. And so I'm blessed to have you in my life, and so delighted that we have an opportunity to do the NAMB podcast together.
I enjoy doing this with you so much. And it's been so awesome just getting to know you better from the podcast. I've met so many amazing people. Our guests, our
guests are amazing.
We're very lucky to do what we do.
Yep, we are. We have a good time, and we bring great people along with us. And so Amen. That's the whole key.
Amen.
Well, very good. Well, hey, thanks for hopping on. And for our listeners, thanks for listening in. And if you want to find out about the NAMB Young Professional, you can go to the NAMB website. If you are not a member, become a member. It's $150 for the year, Matt.
Right.
And so,
money well spent. You will get so much more value than what you pay to get in.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you so much for hopping on today. Make sure and tune in. Hey, we have a brand new podcast that we release every single week. So we have a brand new episode every single week. Make sure and follow us, like, and subscribe us. And Matt, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next podcast.
Sounds great. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the NAMB Podcast, brought to you by the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. For more episodes, resources, and guest interviews, visit nambpodcast.com. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you soon.